After a difficult day at work, I left late one night for the 45-minute journey back home. The further I traveled from the city, the more calm and empty the roads were because I lived miles outside of it. The night was spooky, with a foreboding fog that had settled in and added to the eerie atmosphere. I couldn't help but get a chill when I turned down the small side road that went directly to my home. The surrounding deep woodland seemed to be closing in on me and strangling me with its shadows since the road was faintly illuminated. It became increasingly challenging to see farther than a few feet ahead as the fog grew denser. I suddenly noticed a flickering light in the distance through the dense fog. I slowed down to look out of curiosity. The light quickly vanished as I drew near, leaving me completely in the dark. I had a peculiar feeling that someone or something was observing me from the shadows. A little automobile later appeared out of the mist and stopped in front of me. As I attempted to brake in a panic, my car tapped the back of theirs since I was too near. I exhaled a sigh of relief after realizing it was only a small mishap, but what happened next made my skin tingle. The car's driver got out, but there was something strange about him. He avoided making eye contact with me, and instead flitted his gaze around agitatedly. My heart started to beat faster as I couldn't get rid of the feeling that he was keeping something from me. "Yeah, sorry," he answered as I was standing next to my car. In this fog, I wasn't really sure how to drive. Considering that he had driven out in front of me, his response seemed unusual. But I made an effort to ignore it and made the decision to look for any damage to my automobile. I saw movement in his car's rear seat as I moved to the back of my own vehicle, though. Fear overcame me as another figure appeared from the shadows. Why were they hiding, and who was in his car? I wanted to leave that place as soon as I could, but I was trying to hide my panic. I kindly informed him that I was leaving because it didn't appear to have much harm. But as I went to open my car door, he interrupted me and said, "Wait, I want to check my car too." I experienced a sense of being imprisoned and exposed, as if I were in a trap set by a predator. I felt as though the fog were closing in even more tightly and suffocating me. I observed him pretending to check his automobile, but I could tell there was a problem. I noticed the figure in the rear seat move once more as he shifted to the passenger side. As soon as I understood I needed to go right away, my heart began to race. I secured the doors as soon as I returned to my car. As the two men drew near, their menacing grins sent chills down my spine. I didn't waste any time shifting into drive and accelerating. I panicked as I noticed their headlights coming on through the fog as I glanced in the rearview mirror. With my head racing with terror and my heart racing, I drove as quickly as I could. I drove a short distance to a petrol station and waited there in the hopes that they wouldn't follow. My hands were trembling, and I felt as though I were perched on the edge of a cliff, about to plunge headfirst into the depths of terror. It seemed like an eternity before I decided it was okay to return home. But I never got over the fear I felt that night. The once familiar side road changed into a spot I tried to avoid at all costs. I used to work late at night for a tiny trucking firm that shipped frozen foods to shops all across the country. This time, I was far from home due to a lengthy delivery run that was expected. I had no idea that this momentous night would bring me into the grasp of a relentless pursuer. As midnight approached, I felt worn out. Although I was exhausted, the closest truck stop was 40 miles away. But fate had a diabolical plan in store for me, and what started out as an ordinary trip transformed into a spine-chilling encounter that would haunt my nightmares for years to come. Headlights caught my attention as I was traveling along the lonely, dark road. In the shadows, the automobile remained a mystery. I made an effort to ignore it, in the hopes that it would pass me at the truck stop. However, the automobile clung to me like a persistent shadow. The neon glimmer of the truck stop finally materialized. I arrived in the hope of eluding the pursuer among the parked trucks. But the car's headlights cut through the darkness, casting an unsettling glow over everything. I felt terrified because this was not your typical chase. I mustered the guts to confront the enigmatic driver, but they eluded me. The automobile quickly reversed and accelerated away. I panicked and locked the truck's doors as my heart was thumping. The eerie noises coming from the trailer continued for hours. The evil hour was beyond 3 a.m., according to my watch. A person moved covertly in the direction of the truck's back. I cautiously approached with a knife in my hand, hoping to identify this individual. I caught a terrifying glimpse of a man lurking in the shadows beneath the vehicle with nefarious intentions. I questioned them with a trembling voice, but nothing I said was heard. The ominous apparition backed off and vanished into the night. The gruesome reminder of their nefarious intents was the scratching on the back door. I looked around, hoping the evil specter was no longer there. I kept moving, anxious to get away from the eerie night. As the first rays of morning painted the horizon, I continued, constantly cautious, fearing the unseen shadow that might be lurking behind me, despite the seemingly infinite kilometers ahead. Even though I made it through that terrifying encounter alive, it will always serve as a haunting reminder of the evil spirits who prowl the desolate highways. I still feel as though something evil could be hiding behind me, waiting to wreak havoc on innocent people as I travel through the night. I went to a well-known music event last year in the exciting metropolis of New York. The crowd enjoyed dancing to the beats of well-known musicians at the event. My companions and I were eager to leave the performance as soon as it was over and go home. We realized we needed to find a different route because of the horrendous traffic on the major road. My pals used the GPS to look for a detour after feeling like they had been stuck in traffic for an eternity. We chose to travel through a nice neighborhood on the scenic route. Surprisingly, even late at night, there was still a flurry of activity on the streets as people walked around. We experienced an uneasy sensation as we traveled along, as if someone was watching us. Our discomfort was heightened by the eerie silence and the absence of other cars. At the precise moment when we were debating going the other way, we spotted a strange sight at the end of the road. A sizable roadblock in the shape of a pyramid that was blocking both lanes. We tried to turn around and find another route since we felt stuck. But to our surprise, the identical pyramid-shaped roadblock also materialized on the following street. We began to panic and scramble to find a way out. Two enigmatic characters with hooded cloaks suddenly appeared out of the darkness. My pulse raced in panic as one of them approached our car and the other one waited behind. I reluctantly followed his signal to roll down the window when he gave it. The man demanded to know our destination as he gazed inside the automobile through the darkness with eyes that seemed to pierce it. As I retorted, "We're just trying to get back to the highway," my voice began to shake. The second figure, which was shaped like a thin pillar, approached the passenger side while I was speaking, sending chills down our spines. Time seemed to stop for a split second due to the obvious tension in the air. Both people then moved alarmingly quickly in an effort to force open the doors. The figures moved away as I instinctively changed into reverse, only to resurface on the next block, their tall, shadowy forms following us around. As we made our way through the congested streets, in an effort to elude their grip, panic and adrenaline poured through us. We eventually discovered a path that took us to safety, and we quickly left that terrifying experience. Fear tore at us for days as our hearts hammered. We were unable to understand the motivations of those enigmatic beings, and the once-loved city took on a terrible air. We were forever changed by this terrifying encounter, and we made a commitment to always follow our instincts and be cautious in strange places. We will always be haunted by the recollection of that night, which serves as a somber warning that danger can exist right in the middle of a busy city.